So today the session is quite a different session, and I'm sure you'll enjoy this session because it is, talking of a very different subject which normally we don't, discuss or talk about. What is wisdom? What is that knowledge in which you can be firmly established, which is also called Sthita Prajna. Now, this Sthita Prajna is actually a word coined from Bhagavad Gita. It comes from the second Adhyaya, and the second Adhyaya, as you know, is full of, it's called the Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya means the yoga of knowledge. So the initial part of the Sankhya Yoga is dedicated to the knowledge. The middle part is more of a Karma Yoga, and the Siddhanta or the principles of Karma Yoga, which we have already done in the previous session. And the last part, the last 18th shloka of the second Adhyaya is what is called as a Sthita Prajna Darshana or Sthita Prajna Prakarana. So here, Lord Krishna talks about that ultimate wisdom or the knowledge, and what are the characteristics of this person, what kind of attitude this person has, what are the attributes, and how is this person's behavior. So there's a lot to learn from these shlokas. It's a very beautiful description of this person. So it shows all the lakshana or vyavahara of the Sthita Prajna Mahapurusha. Is also in different words in Shastra, it is called Jnani, somebody who has that ultimate knowledge, that wisdom, and he is called the Jnani. And what are these characteristics of this deep-rooted wisdom which makes his knowledge so firmly established? And this, for the sadhaka, it's a very important adhyaya and very important prakarana, because it is very important for the sadhaka. Something that the Gnani already has achieved. Sadhaka has to achieve that stage, and to achieve this, he has to, go through an entire process which is called a sadhana. And this attributes, these characteristics are very beautiful. They are very, mananiya. Mananiya means they call for a lot of introspection. Manan karna padta hai uske upar. You have to, introspect on this. And they are kind of goalposts for the sadhaka who wants to achieve that stage. And it also, shows a lot of milestones for the person who is already on this path. It will tell us where we have reached, where we need to go. So it's a very important part. There are many books written on this Sthita Prajna Darshana. Amongst them, books written by Vinoba Bhave and Gandhiji are quite famous. But a lot of other people have already written and done a lot of analysis on these characteristics. Ultimately, it's ultimate knowledge that one needs to gain in life, which gives the life a different meaning, because you are then operating from a different kind of a fullness of life, a completeness of life. And that's why the attitude of this person is very different from the average person. This person has a complete acceptance of all the situations, all the different adversities of life. He can accept it without complaining about it. So it's kind of a swastha svikar of the paristhiti. He is at peace with himself. He is at peace with the surroundings. And this peace or this blissfulness is because of that ultimate knowledge that he has in his life. When I say he or his, it is gender neutral. It could be she or it could be he. So just take it as I won't say all the time he or she. I'll just say he, because it's a gender neutral connotation. And this situation or this sthiti of this person is because of an internal attitude of the person. It is not an external behavior will be different. Externally, you won't see any difference between a Gnani and a regular person. The external behavior will be very similar, but the internal process that goes on in his mind is because of the right understanding which is given by this knowledge. So this ultimate knowledge gives the fullness, which gives the acceptance and gives the right understanding for this person to go through in his life. So as a spiritual aspirant, the main goal of a spiritual aspirant is, or for that matter, for the life, is called as, to acquire, to achieve Atma Jnana or Brahma Jnana. And this is the cause for liberation or freedom, that is called the moksha. We'll come to that later on. But the most important step which leads to this final goal, and which is a very, very important step, it is called the Antakarana Shuddhi. Antakarana Shuddhi means cleaning the mind. All the rubbish, all the dirt, all the kachra jitna man ke andar bhara hua hai, wo sab clean karna. It's very important. Without this Antakarana Shuddhi, nobody can obtain this jnana. So this is the most important stepping stone to the ultimate goal of life. And most of the sadhana that any aspirant does or a seeker does is for this Antakarana Shuddhi. Most of this. Once the Antakarana is Shuddha, Gnan doesn't take too much time. Of course, one has to do a sadhana for Gnana also, but that is not that long. The most important part of the sadhana is the Antakarana Shuddhi, which sometimes takes years, sometimes takes many births also. And then, this sadhana goes on from birth to birth. So it is not that during just one lifetime one can achieve everything. It keeps on going over the different lifetimes. That is what our Shastras tell us. Now we already talked about Karma Yoga. And our last session was on Karma Yoga. And we know that it is one of the very, very important sadhana or a tool for not only Mukti, Antakarana Shuddhi, but even to obtain peace of mind, to remain peaceful in life also. And we also have discussed in details what are the principles. It's a very important sadhana for Antakarana Shuddhi, which is the stepping stone to Jnana. And without Antakarana Shuddhi, it is not possible to obtain this Jnana. So that's why for a person who wants to go from Ashuddhi to Shuddhi or from Ajnan to Jnana state, Karma Yoga becomes a very, very important tool for Antakarana Shuddhi. So having said that, how karma cleanses, we also discussed in details. Just in a nutshell, initially the Karma Yoga tells us that we should not remain lazy. From inaction, we should go to the action mode. That's what in the Karma Yoga shloka you saw all these 4 pillars of Karma Yoga. Mate sangostva karmani. Don't be don't believe in inaction, get into the action mode. And then Shastra tells us that you do your action in the right way, dharma karma, as the Shastras tell us. It's called the Shastra Vihita karma or dharma karma, or even it can be called as a kartavya karma. So according, whatever is our duty, we should do our karma. And then gradually Shastra tells us that from this sakama karma, sakama means, some kamna ke saath jo karma karte hai, usme se you go to nishkama karma. So without much attachment, without much, binding desires, you go towards nishkama karma. And we talked about this in detail, how you can do this, what are the different ways it can be done. While you do the karma, it's Ishvara Arpana Bhavana. Then when you get the results, you don't get attached to the results, you don't get too much of jid or agra nahi hota hai results ke liye, what is called as the prasad buddhi. So we saw all this, and the devotion to the God, Ishvara Arpana Bhavana, it's a very important part of Karma Yoga. Without Ishvara, there is no Karma Yoga. So when karma combines with yoga, that is bhakti or devotion, when you join your karma to the Lord, then it becomes a nishkam karma, it becomes a Karma Yoga. So this is all that we saw. And for any aspirant, these 4 important sadhana or the tools are considered to be assets. They are called sadhana chatushtya sampatti. 4 important sadhanas. First is called the viveka. Viveka is the use of your intelligence or discriminative knowledge or intellect, vichar. So a lot of emphasis in our shastras is given to vichara buddhi, so that you use your brains. The second is vairagya. Vairagya is detachment from these worldly attachments, from a lot of our own misconceptions, myths, a lot of things that we are holding on to, which makes us miserable. We have to let it go. So gradually on this path, one has to let go of lot of things to become more peaceful. And then the third is called Sham Adi Shat Sampatti. So this is a samu or a conglomerate of 6 sampattis, which are called Shama, Dama, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhana. Out of which the first 2, the Shama and the Dama, these are very important, and this is what we are going to talk a lot about today. So it's all about controlling your mind, controlling your senses. Shama means mana ka control, mano nigraha, and Dama means control of the sense organs, Indriya Sanyam. So these are the 2 things that are going to be important. Today we are going to talk about this. And the 4th sadhan chatushtay is called mumukshutva, or desire for freedom. ये जो भी बंधा संसार जिसको बंधन कहते हैं, the karma that we do which keeps us binding to this if it can free us or liberate us, then this is called mumukshutva, but it's also called moksha ki ichha, mumuksha. So that mumukshutva is a very important sadhan chatushtaya sampatti. Only then with this intense desire one can go through this sadhana, can utilize his intellect, can go vairagya, and then do all this shamadhi, shat sampatti to reach the ultimate. But then after this, when you go for Gnan, also there are 3 other important tools which are important. We have already seen this, but I just want to re-emphasize, because then you have the link between Karma Yoga and between the Gnana. What is this link? That must be very clear. And these important 3 sadhanas, the first one is called Shravana. Shravana means you listen to Vedanta Vakya from your Guru, because Guru knows the real good meaning of these Vakya. Uska kya artha hota hai. So Vedanta Vakya, to listen, not just reading. Reading does not give this knowledge. It is said in our Shastras that it is important to listen to the Guru, because for generations this knowledge has come down as a parampara by Shravana, by listening, because listening is a very important skill that one needs to develop. The second is called Manana. Manana means you use your logic or yukti, and then you explore the meaning by giving different logic. You understand the meaning of what has been said. So Shravana में जो कहा गया है उसके ऊपर मनन करना पड़ता है to understand the meaning. And the third is called Nididhyasana. Nididhyasana means contemplation or meditation. So based on what you have listened, what आपने मनन जो मन में किया है, जो अर्थ समझ में आया है, उसके ऊपर then one has to meditate and contemplate. This is called Vedantic meditation or Nididhyasana. So with this, the meaning internalizes, and this essentially what it does is, the process that happens in the mind is that it converts the Anatma Vishayaka Sanskar into Atma Vishayaka Sanskar. Meaning, in the world there are 2 types of Vishaya, objects or Vishaya. One is called Atma Vishaya, Atma related, so that is Nirguna, Atma Vishayaka, and everything that is not Atma, it is called Anatma. So this is how the entire universe is divided into Atma and Anatma. So we all are, quite focused on the Anatma part, the thing that is visible, that is seen, that is obvious. It is all Anatma, but from here we have to divert all our mind, focus, energies towards the Atma Vishayaka Sanskara. So Atma is something which is not seen, which is not manifest, right? So how to do this? This is the entire process or the entire sadhana to get this Gnana. So basically sadhan chatushtaya sampatti, vivek, vairagya, shama, dama, mumuksha, and then shravana, manana, nididhyasana, and then one goes to this kind of the Jnana. So this is the Jnana sadhana. After the Karma Yoga, there are 2 other important shlokas before which the Sthita Prajna Prakaran starts. So these are the 2 shlokas and in these 2 shlokas, in the first shloka, Bhagavan says, with your buddhi you get over this moha kalilam. Kalilam means moha ka jo kadav kichad jo hai usme se aap bahar aao and obtain vairagya. Nirvedam means vairagya. So whatever are these objects that you see in this world or what you are listening, You have to obtain a kind of a vairagya or a detachment, and then you have to do this Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana to reach this ultimate goal. What is the Sthita Prajna? So Sthita Prajna is a Gnani, somebody who has this knowledge, who is full with this knowledge, and this is what we are going to talk. The ultimate goal is the Tattvamasi. It is one of the Mahavakya, Tat, Tvam and Asi. These are the three pada which combines to form this word Tattvamasi, and it means that Jeev and Ishwar are one. There is no difference. Vedanta believes in oneness of the entire Brahmanda or the universe, where Jeev, Paramatma or Ishwar ke beech mein koi difference nahi hai. And this kind of a Gnan is the ultimate goal for any sadhak, which gives him the moksha. So this sadhana, we already discussed that there is the Atma is already there, it is Siddha. Sadhaka is the person who does the sadhana. Sadhya is what is important, which is the Antakarana Shuddhi. And there are three types of Ashuddhi, and there are three ways we can remove this Ashuddhi. One is the Mala, which is the Raga Dvesha. We'll come to that, what are Raga Dvesha, and this can be relieved by Karma Yoga. The second Ashuddhi is the Vikshepa. Vikshepa is a Chanchalta. It is very, very, the Mana is very, it's very Chanchala. Chanchala means it keeps moving, it is not steady. So to steady the mind also, there is this Bhakti Yoga, which is important. And the third is the Avran or the Ajnan, for which the Jnana Yoga is important. So let's now come to the Sthita Prajna. Sthita Prajna, as we said already, it's the sthiti of the Gnani. It's a very sahaj sthiti. It's effortless for the Gnani. He doesn't have to make much efforts because he's there. He is already sthit in that Jnana. So for him, it is effortless. But for all of us sadhaka, we have to accomplish this by making a lot of efforts. A lot of efforts, because we have a lot of samskara, the old samskara which we have to change. So ultimately they are habits in our mind which we have to change. And for this we have to make a lot of efforts to change this samskara. So we have to, these milestones will help us, this Sthita Prajna milestone. So let us start this prakarana. Let us start the Gita Swadhyaya with the Guru Prarthana. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Para Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. All this rahasya or deep meaning can only be, understood with the help of a guru, and that is very important in this path of Vedanta. To study this, understand this. Bhagavad Gita is also part of, Upanishada, and it is a part of Vedanta. So let's start with the first shloka. This starts from the 54th shloka of the second adhyaya of Bhagavad Gita, and it starts with Arjuna's question. So Arjuna asks a question when he listens to all this, when Lord Krishna tells him about Karma Yoga, Jnana Sadhana and everything, and the question comes to the mind of Arjuna that Lord Arjuna, what Arjuna asks, that he has four questions to Lord Krishna. He says first, Sthita Pragnasya ka bhasha. So he says Sthita Prajna ka bhasha kya hai? What is this language? So the question, the literal meaning is language, but the literal, the translatory meaning is language, but the literal meaning is not language. Bhasha means paribhasha, and paribhasha means lakshana, so attributes or characteristics of the Sthita Prajna person. So that is the first question. What are the characteristics of the Sthita Prajna person during his Samadhi Avastha? Samadhi Stasya Keshava. Keshava is a Bhagwan Krishna ka naam hai. And Samadhi Avastha mein unka kya bhasha hai Sthita Prajna ki? That is the first question. The second question he asks Arjuna is Sthitadihi Kim Prabhasheta. Kim Prabhasheta means what would he speak? Prabhasheta means speak. And it doesn't mean essentially क्या बोलते हैं, किस तरह से बोलते हैं. It's not on a physical plane. What he's asking is, what kind of a response does he have when he listens or hears certain things? What kind of response does he have? That is the literal meaning of this question. The third question is Kimasita. Kimasita means how would he sit? Now, how would he sit also does not mean literally, physically वो कैसे बैठता है Sthita Prajna person, but it means that what kind of, how is his mind, how it is under control in different situations, in different adverse situations in the life, how does he control his mind? What is the way that his mind sits? Where does it sit when there are different situations? And the final fourth question is Kim Vrajeta. Kim Vrajeta means how would he talk? Sorry, how would he walk? And this essentially means what will be his attitude while he is conducting himself in this world or when he's living, because he also has to face with a lot of relations, different people will talk differently, different objects. So a lot of things will come in his way. So how does he behave, or what kind of attitude does he have towards his life? So these are the four important questions that Arjuna asked to Lord Krishna. And the Sthita Prajna Prakaran, the entire 18 slokas, is based on Lord's answer to these four questions, right? So let's just first look at what kind of person are there. Different. One is the wise or the jnani. He's accomplished, effortless in his conduct. The second type of person is the ignorant or the ajnani. He's completely dependent. He's impulsive. I mean, he doesn't have much, doesn't think much before he takes the decisions. Whereas a person who is a seeker, he makes efforts and tries to exercise a self-control, right? So, but the final goal for everyone is the same, to attain the Sthita Prajna state. That is what our Shastras tell us. Now, the first question's answer. Shri Bhagavana Uvacha Prajahati Yada Kaman Sarvan Partha Manogata Atmanyev Atmanat Tushtaha Sthita Prajnasta Dochyate. So this means that Lord says that Yada Sarvan Kaman Manogatan Prajahati, when all the desires as they appear in his mind, they are given up. Atmani eva atmanat tushtaha means he is happy in his one's own self alone, in his own Atma Swarupa. That person is called a person who has a firm knowledge, or is a Sthita Prajna. So essentially he says first that all the desires are given up for this person. So literally the question can come, how is it possible? Does it mean that the Sthita Prajna person has no desires? Then how does he live in this world if he doesn't have desire? If he is thirsty, if he is hungry, he doesn't want to have food, how will he survive? So that's not the thing. The thing is that when all the desires appear in the mind, so desires does come up in the mind of a Sthita Prajna, but as they come up in his mind with a kind of some understanding, they all fall down, or they die down, or they're given up. So he doesn't get attached, he doesn't get too worked up by these desires. So he's not affected too much by these desires. So how would this happen? Then somebody will ask, okay, he doesn't have any desires to achieve anything, how would he be happy? Because we all have desires, we want to achieve something because we want to be happy. And if you don't achieve something, if you don't have desires, how can we be happy in life? So the answer to this is that he is happy in his own self alone. Our own Atma Swarup is a completely blissful self. If we are able to touch this, and we are able to understand this, we are able to feel this, and we are able to know this, then we can be happy with our own self. We don't need to be, in company of people to be happy. So the Sthita Prajna person is happy in his own self, and that person is called Sthita Prajna. So here we should try to understand that there are four stages of desires. First is a latent desire, what is also called as a prasupta, which is generally there in the children. Then there is a ardhavikasit, where the desire is there, but still it is not clear. Second is a vikasit, it's already well developed. So this, we have decided that I want this. I've seen an advertisement on the TV. I thought that I need this. Okay, I've seen it, and then I get a desire that I want to buy this, or I want to have this thing. So now I'm clear that I need this, and then it becomes what is called as a tivra kamna or a trushna. That means an intense desire that I must have this. I can't do without this. So this kind of intense desire then strives me into action, that I want to buy this or I want to get this. But Sthita Prajna Mahapurush, he doesn't have this sarvan kaman manogatan. He doesn't have any of these kamana. He doesn't, and as the kamana arises, they are disappeared. So there are essentially three types of desires. What is called as a vitteshana, desire for wealth and money; lokeshana, desire for name and fame; and putreshana, desire for child and family. So our Shastras tell us that these are the three desires based on which all our other desires arise. And these are the three basic desires that everybody yearns for. And all these desires arise in the mind. And these are the root cause of our problems. And it's very common that for us, we feel that, the problems or miseries or sorrows come to us because of somebody else. It is easy to blame somebody outside. But most of the times it happens that it is our own desires, our own expectations that make us miserable or give us the sorrow, rather than somebody else giving us this sorrow. So the next shloka, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna that Dukkeshu anudvikna manaha Sukheshu vigatas spruhaha Vita raga bhaya krodha Stitadi muni uchyate. So this is the answer to the second question, Kim Prabhasheta. What does it speak? What is his response? And the answer is that whenever there is dukkha, he does not get anudvigna. So he is not agitated in grief or in sorrow. And whenever there is sukha, he doesn't get much spruha. Spruha rahit ho jate hain. There is no longing for happiness or joy, too much of joy or happiness, because he has his own joy within himself. And that's why he doesn't have too much of longing for happiness or joy from outside. Vita raga bhaya krodha. That means he is a person who is free from attachment, fear and anger. And this is the person who is a sthita prajna. So this is the definition that God tells us, that person is quite, he is in a samatva, even when there is a dukkha or a sukha, or when there is a raga, bhaya, krodha are all gone from him, and he remains in a quite a samatva state. And it's important to understand how this person can remain quite peaceful and joyful in all these different situations of life. He says, Yaha sarvatra nabhisneha tat tat prapya shubha shubham nabhinandati nadveshti tasya prajna pratishtita. He says, whenever there is, sarvatra unabhisneha, he lives without too much of affection or attachment. So abhisneha means too much of love or affection or attachment. He does not develop abhisneha. Tat tat prapya shubha shubha means whenever he encounters pleasant or unpleasant things. So अच्छा भी होता है, गलत भी होता है, success, failure, he takes everything in the same stride. Na abhinandati na dveshti. He does not rejoice too much when he becomes successful. Neither he hates anyone when he becomes, he develops a failure or he does not like someone. He does not have this kind of, choices. Tasya prajna pratishtita. So his knowledge, this person's knowledge is firmly established, and he is the person who is a sthita prajna. So this is what? So this is the mind, or this is the attitude of the person. Even when there is a too much love, doesn't get attached. In most of the situation, he can remain, equipoise. So we should try and understand what is the process that goes on in this mind of this person. Whenever there is a dukkha, sukha, how can he remain in the same equilibrium or in the same samta? Most of the people will get affected. If somebody praises you, we become happy. If somebody disrespects us, we become sad. So these are normal emotions that we deal with day in and out. But in spite of this, how can we remain happy in any situation? That is something. So this, our Guruji has taught us that, there are three things that are important whenever you have a sukha or a dukkha. One is, first is called the nimitta. Nimitta means that's the instrumental cause or the reason. Generally, this nimitta will be in the buyer or the circumstances outside, for the happiness. Maybe it could be an object, it could be a relationship with a friend whom we have not met. We meet him after a long time. Some nimitta which helps us to become, joyous or sukha or dukkha. The second is the vritti that arises in our mind. So vritti is a kind of a feeling or an energy which happens or develops in the mind because of this instrumental reason or nimitta. And the third is what is called as the tadatmya. Tadatmya means that we get associated with this vritti or the feelings, and we identify with this vritti. So that is called tadatmya, getting associated with this vritti, right? Now, for a person who is ajnani, means he a normal person like me, whenever we have a nimitta for a sukha or a dukkha and the vritti arises, then what happens is that there is a tadatmya. Tadatmya means we get associated strongly with this feeling, and then we feel that okay, मैं सुखी हूँ या मैं दुखी हूँ. So we become one with these feelings. So that is the tadatmya, that is the strong association that we have. How this process is different in a Gnani Purush. In a Gnani Purusha, Sthita Prajna Purusha, he feels that dukkha, sukha happens in his body or in his mind. Like शरीर में कोई दुख आता है, कोई डिजीज आता है, कोई कट होता है, कुछ एक्सीडेंट होता है, कुछ चोट लगती है, कोई फ्रैक्चर होता है, तो दुख होता है, जरूर होता है. बट दैट द ज्ञानी पुरुष फील्स दैट दिस दुख इज इन हिज बॉडी. अगर कोई किसने कुछ डिसरिस्पेक्ट कर दिया, कुछ हो गया, कुछ अगर दुख भी होता है, तो ही फील्स दैट दिस इज इन द माइंड. बट ही फील्स दैट ही, वो उनका साक्षी है. ही इज एबल टू सी, ही इज एबल टू विटनेस दिस sukha and dukkha and these feelings. So that kind of a non-identification with this feelings, that is something that differentiates a Gnani Purusha and a Agnani Purusha. So if you see here again, Nimitta और वृत्ति दोनों ज्ञानी और अज्ञानी दोनों में होती है. But तादात्म्य or associating with these feelings is the Gnani associates with these feelings, whereas Agnani associates with these feelings, but the Gnani, he sees it as a Sakshi Bhav. He sees it differently. He sees it from a distance, does not get associated with these feelings, and that's why he's able to feel this. And in our own profession, we see very commonly that pain is something which is a highly psychosomatic symptom. Everybody's pain threshold is different, and that's how we can. We have treated a lot of saints or wise men who will not have so much of pain because they are able to identify, they are able to witness, and they have an internal process by which they can process the pain in such a way that they don't feel it so much. So how is this that this is possible? And this is the internal process that works while we become sukhi or dukhi. So how a sadhaka or a seeker should think in his life? So he should think that the sukha dukkha nimitta that comes are prarabdhavash. So they are part of the destiny. Any nimitta bahar ke jo environment mein aata hai, that is not something I can do much about. They come as a prarabdha. Prarabdha is also a purva karma ka phala. So ultimately, whatever deeds we have done in the past, wo banta hai prarabdha that we have to endure now, right? But iske prati hame rag dvesha na kare. Rag dvesha is something that will come to later on. So sukha dukkha ka ऐसा उपयोग करें हम लक्ष्य के करीब पहुंच जाए. And मैं वृत्ति का साक्षी हूँ. Of course, it is difficult to think like this, but it is possible, very much possible. And वृत्ति के साथ तादात्म्य करना वो मेरा अविवेक है. This is because of my aviveka, or I am not able to think properly, and that's why because of this I have this sukhi or dukhi. That's why I feel this. This is the area of purushartha. Purushartha means I can do some effort to come out of this. This is not because of destiny. When I get associated with this feeling, this is my, this is my domain. This is something which is under my control, whether to get associated with these feelings or not. So ये पुरुषार्थ का विषय है, ये प्रारब्ध का विषय नहीं है. So this is the area where I can really work and try and dissociate myself from these feelings so that I can be happy. ज्ञान प्राप्त करना ये भी पुरुषार्थ का विषय है, प्रारब्ध का नहीं. Definitely प्रारब्ध does help, destiny does help to give you a good guru, in your life. प्रभु की कृपा ये सब बोलते हैं, बहुत important है साधना में. But ultimately ज्ञान प्राप्त करना ये पुरुषार्थ से ही होता है. One has to make efforts, work very hard. Something like whatever we want to achieve in the outside world, we have to work hard towards it. We have to have a single point dedication and determination to achieve that. Similarly, even in Adhyatma sadhana or Jnana sadhana, one has to do a lot of efforts to understand this, to change our mindset, our focus, our energies and our attitudes. And finally, Sukh Dukh ke upar utkar mujhe Atma Swarup mein sthit hona hai, which is my ultimate goal. And if I achieve this goal, then all this will be possible. Then I will be able to become a Sakshi. I'll be able to not have a Tadatmya, not an association. And then there is no Sukha and there is no Dukkha. Because then you are ultimately in your own self, you are completely happy and satisfied. So these are all the sadhaka vichara. He should think about the viveka purvaka dosha darshan. Dosha darshan means pratipaksha bhavana. When you get so much of infatuation or love for a particular object, you can also look at the other aspect, which is called as the Pratipaksha Bhavana. And for this, God has given us the brain which can be used and seen कि भाई पहले के समय में क्या हुआ है, अभी तक मैंने जो भी ऑब्जेक्ट्स के लिए इस तरह से infatuation किया है, what has it given me? Have I become richer? Has it given me some improvement in life, whether I'm progressing in my goals? We can think like that, and then we can decide whether we want to go and get to this object and have this object or not, right? Sukha dukha avashyam bhavi hai. Avashyam bhavi means it's a part and parcel of life. You have to accept them. Sometimes you'll be happy, sometimes sukha ka koi nimitta aayega, sometimes dukha ka nimitta aayega. There'll be some adverse situations, there'll be some things which are beyond our control. How we can accept these situations. And for this, of course, Ishwar Krupa, love for God. Bhakta is तरह से सोचता है. Whatever comes to him, sukha, dukkha, he always feels that it is Ishwar ki Krupa hai, Ishwar ka prasad hai. And that's why he does not get too much of perturbed because of these situations. And then one can also think of the phala vichara. Phala vichara means कि दुख से जो पाप जो होते हैं वो कट जाते हैं, सुख से पुण्य का नाश होता है. And then we have to think that ultimately God has told us that we have to reach Naishkarmya. Naishkarmya means, as Lord Krishna told in the shloka 45, Nistrai Gunyo Bhavarjuna. So ultimately you have to get above all this and then you have to go ahead, right? So I'll just give you an example. Somebody just tells me, oh donkey, then I have two options with me. One is that I can get perturbed, I can be very, very annoyed, I can be very unhappy. I can, tell that person, how dare you call me donkey? How dare you tell me something like this? So that is one way. It does disturb my mind. The second way I could respond is that I can be just quiet, peaceful, and I can just tell him, oh my dear, why don't you get your eye vision checked? Do I look like a donkey? I am a human being. So I could respond like that also with a very firm and a very correct way. So how can I request everybody to mute themselves, please?
मुश्किल हो गया सब क्या है कब खत्म होगा
Okay, so I'll go ahead. So it's very important that we can change our attitude. We cannot change the attitude of others, and that is something that we must understand. So now just understand something about love. Love means sneha, and it's of course a beautiful emotion. It's one of the wonderful emotions on which the entire universe survives. It's a big virtue to have love. But this love, if it is non-discriminating, it is selfless, it is a beautiful and a very pious emotion. The problem happens when the love becomes too much, abhisneha. From sneha, it becomes abhisneha. So that means there is a too much love, which becomes like an affection or attachment. It tries to control, tries to restrict the other person, becomes very possessive. It discriminates. I like this person too much, I don't like so much this person. So it discriminates between different people. And of course, it becomes selfish. And I love somebody because that person also loves me. So it's more like a selfish kind of an emotion. So this abhisneha or abhisneha causes moha. And moha is the root cause of many, many problems or miseries. As you know, Mahabharata, it's very famous that Dhritarashtra, is more for his sons, the Kauravas, Duryodhana. So that was the root cause of the entire problem. Similarly, in Ramayana, Kaikeyi, her more for her son Bharata, sent Rama to exile and in Vana. So moha is something which is abhisneha, which is a root cause, makes the mind mood. So the buddhi cannot think properly, entire, the Buddhi Shakti is completely destroyed when there is moha. You cannot think properly. So it's better, we should try and avoid as much abhisneha and moha, and we should try and treat everyone equally. Start with our home, workplaces, and especially with people working for you. Try and make sure that we treat everyone or love everyone equally. Mamakar. Mamakar means mamatva or attachment. We should avoid as much as possible, but it's not possible. It's a very human emotion. And that's why our Guruji always tells us that if you want to do attachment, do it. But do it to much more people. Don't do it to just few people, one or two people. Do it to a lot of people. So sadhak ke liye, these are the very important assets. Vyavhar mein you should be having as much as possible asangata, non-attachment. Don't get attached somewhere. As much as possible, try to remain unattached. Honesty, integrity, satyata, vyavhar mein. Man mein we should try and have a samatva bhavna and equipoise. In different situations, we don't get too much excited or don't get too depressed also. And in jnana, we should have ekata, oneness. There should not be any discrimination. Bheda buddhi should be avoided, and there should be ekatva in the jnana. So these are some of the mahan sampatti of a seeker. So with this, I come to the end of this first part of the presentation, the first session. And then I'll now go to the next session of the presentation, which talks more about the Indriya Sanyama, the senses, organs, and the mind control, how it can be achieved. We have already discussed the 2 questions that Arjuna asked. Now we go to the 3rd question. So there are 4 questions that Arjuna had asked Lord Krishna about the Sthita Prajna. So we have already talked about the 2, and now we will go to the 3rd question. Thank you all very much.